Welcome back to my YouTube channel and for checking out my second video on adolescent depression. This presentation is focused around identifying adolescent depression and what are some real concrete ways that you can help your student. So adolescent depression is more common than ever before. I think we're kind of aware of this. In 2017, 13% of teens said they had experienced at least one major depressive episode. And the total number of teens who recently experienced depression went up by 60% between 2007 and 2017. So that's a big jump. And especially among girls, the growth was faster for girls, 66% than boys. 7 in 10 teens said that anxiety and depression is a major problem among people their age in the community where they live. So that's a lot of kids that are struggling. So why is this? Why is this more common? There's a lot of different thoughts about it. CDC thinks it's a combination of genetic, biological, environmental, and psychological factors. Some people believe it's attributed to social media and electronic usage. It might help make isolated people feel more isolated and pile on the pressure to compare yourself to other people and believe that what you are isn't good enough compared to what you're seeing on the screen, which we know isn't always an accurate representation of somebody. So kids are holding themselves to potentially an impossible standard. Also, video game addiction. It can lead to isolation, poor school performance, impaired sleep. We know that when we're not taking care of our bodies, our minds don't feel well either. So there's definitely a catch-22 there where one is causing the other, and especially in individuals who are already vulnerable. Some signs and symptoms of teen depression. A lot of these are similar to adult depression, but in a minute I'll get into some differences. So some of the signs and symptoms, and these are generally recognized as lasting for more than 2 weeks. These aren't, episodic kind of things that happen every now and then. These are pervasive and long lasting. Sadness, irritability, crying, withdrawing, losing interest in activities, poor performance at school, changes in eating and sleeping habits, restlessness, lack of energy, unable to concentrate, aches and pains, thoughts of death or suicide, feelings of worthlessness and guilt, and lack of enthusiasm and motivation. So sometimes ways in which teens act out to deal with emotional pain can look a little different than adults. This can be problems at school. This can be because of low energy and concentration difficulties, poor attendance, grades, frustration with schoolwork. And this would be in a student that formerly did not have these kinds of issues. Sometimes teens will run away or talk about running away. It's often a cry for help. Drug and alcohol abuse, teens may use these in trying to self-medicate their depression. Unfortunately, we know this only makes things worse. And low self-esteem. Depression can trigger and intensify feelings of shame, failure, unworthiness, unattractiveness, all those things. Smartphone addiction. Teens may go online to escape their problems. And actually, I'm going to be making another webinar about smartphone and mobile device addiction, so stay tuned for that. They think it makes them feel better in the moment, but it actually only increases their isolation for the reasons we talked about before, kind of comparing themselves to other people's impossible standards that they're showing to everybody. And this can make them more depressed. Reckless behavior. Sometimes teens that are depressed might engage in some high-risk behaviors, such as reckless driving, binge drinking, unsafe sex. Violence. Some depressed teens, usually boys who are victims of bullying, can become aggressive and violent. So, as I talked about before, teen depression is a bit different from adult depression in a few ways. Teens who are depressed tend to come off as irritable or angry. It kind of is their predominant mood. They may be grumpy, hostile, frustrated, or having outbursts. Unexplained aches and pains. We know there's a mind-body connection. It's called psychosomatic complaints. And that is when depressed teens might complain about physical ailments such as headaches or stomach aches. And you should always take them to a doctor to rule this out. But if there's no other cause for this, it's possible it's their depression. Sensitivity to criticism. They're kind of, teens are just feeling unworthy, worthless, and they're very vulnerable to criticism and failure and rejection. And this is in particular the case with teens who are considered overachievers. Um, Teens who are depressed sometimes withdraw from some people, but not everybody. Adults tend to isolate themselves, but teens might keep up some friendships, but they might socialize less than before. So again, you want to look at changes in that one teen's normal behavior rather than a specific behavior being present or not. Is it normal for them? Or they might start hanging out with a different crowd. Some suicide warnings you want to watch for in kids. Clearly, suicide would be the worst outcome of teen depression. And so this is where we need to focus a lot of our efforts of being really cautious and listening really well. Joking or talking about suicide, saying things like, I'd be better off dead. I wish I could disappear. Talking about death in a positive or romanticized way, like if I died, people might love me more, or if I was gone, I would really show them. Oops, sorry. Sometimes writing stories and poems about death or dying, engaging in reckless behavior like we talked about before, having a lot of accidents, kind of not caring if they get hurt or not caring if they die, giving away prized possessions, saying goodbye to friends and family, and seeking out means of killing themselves, methods, ways, resources. It's really, really important, if you take nothing else away from this webinar, that you take any suicidal thoughts or behaviors very seriously. It's a cry for help. Whether they're serious or not, whether you believe them or not, is not up for debate. It's your job to keep them safe, and it's your job to listen when they say things that could indicate that they're at risk for suicide. If you ever suspect that you're seeing any signs of suicide, you should immediately call 911, take your child to the emergency room, or call the main crisis number at 1-888-568-1112. We're fortunate in the state of Maine. We have this crisis hotline. It helps stabilize families and their loved ones while assisting in crisis resolution and action planning. They're really kind folks, and they can help kind of give some direction in a time that can seem really confusing. So how can you help as a parent? That's what we all want to do, right? We can encourage social connection. Make FaceTime with your teen a priority. Talk with them. Give them your total focused attention, uninterrupted, no distractions, and don't multitask. Show them that they matter. Combat social isolation. Do what you can to keep your teen connected to others. Encourage them to go out with friends or invite friends over. Sometimes they might need some help making these things happen, especially if they don't drive or, if you live in a more rural area. Get your teen involved. Suggest activities such as sports, clubs, art, dance, or music class. Things that take advantage of their interests and talents. And an even better suggestion is to do these activities with them. Combine FaceTime and being involved. Take an art class together or a music class together. Promote volunteerism. One of the number one ways we can feel better is to make other people feel better. That's a contagious feeling. Doing for things for others is a really great antidepressant and a self-esteem booster. It helps kids feel good about themselves. Find a cause they're interested in and something that gives them purpose. The animal shelter always loves people to come take their dogs for a walk or help care for guinea pigs or kittens. Animals are really therapeutic. There's lots of ways that teens can be helpful and volunteer, even if they're not necessarily wanting to connect with other people. Make physical health a priority. Physical and mental health are very connected. Things like not enough sleep, not enough activity, and bad nutrition makes depression so much worse. Get your teen moving. Maybe you can go for a bike ride together or go for a walk together and talk and listen to music. Set limits on screen time. Sometimes teens go online to escape their problems, but then they're their activity and their face time with people goes down. Both are not great for depression. Make sure they're eating, or at least you're providing, nutritious, balanced meals. Sometimes when we're depressed, we want to eat simple carbs and empty carbs, which in the short term might make us feel better, but in the long term, they really can make us feel worse. So make sure they're getting the nutrition they need for their brain health and mood support. Encourage plenty of sleep. Teens need a lot more sleep than adults to function. 9 to 10 hours a night. Try to make sure they're not staying up all night and being awake when it's dark and sleeping when it's light. Kind of maintaining that healthy balance, that healthy circadian rhythm is really good for mental health. Know when to seek help. So you can try these healthy lifestyle changes and support them, and that can make a world of difference. But sometimes a teen is depressed and they need more. Don't ever hesitate to seek help for them. Talk to your doctor, a mental health professional, talk to your school counselor and see what they recommend or what referrals they have. Sometimes teens are reluctant to get help, but one of the ways you can help them to be involved is let them be involved in making choices. When you're meeting potential therapists, get your teens' input. Let them have some choice over who they see. It's about not just about seeing someone qualified, but seeing someone that they connect with. That makes all the difference. Don't ignore their preferences or just make decisions for them. These are emerging adults, and we're teaching them those decision-making skills and input and independence. And so this is a way in which they can have some say in their own help and learning to make those decisions and learning those skills that they're going to need later in adulthood. So once you get your teen treatment with a therapist, that's your job isn't done. It's not, you don't just hand them off and things get better. You need to really let your teen know that you're there to listen to them and offer support. They need to know that they're valued and accepted and cared for and loved for who they are. Be understanding. Things aren't going to get better overnight. You might even have a hard time. You might be tired, in despair, aggravated, or any kind of other negative emotions. It's important to remember that your teen is not trying to be difficult. They're suffering. So you can help them by doing your best to be patient and understanding. Stay involved in their treatment. Make sure the teenager is following their treatment instructions, going to their appointments, and track changes in their condition. If they start a new medication, take notes about the things that you're seeing. And then call your doctor if the depression symptoms seem to be getting worse or you notice new symptoms. Be patient. This might be a bumpy road. Small victories are good. Celebrate them. And sometimes setbacks happen. That's okay. Don't feel like it's never going to work. Just stick with it. Don't judge yourself or compare your family to others. As long as you're doing the best you can do to get your teen help, you're doing your job. Last, don't forget to take care of yourself. As a parent, you may find that focusing all your attention on your teen and neglecting yourself and your family is where you kind of find yourself on a day-to-day basis. But it's really important that you take care of yourself and reach out to others for your own support. Consider getting your own therapist. Don't bottle up your emotions. It's okay if you're feeling frustrated or angry or any kind of negative emotions. You're human. Reach out to your friends, join a group, or get your own counselor. Talking about how you're feeling will kind of help diffuse that. Look after your health. The stress of your teen's depression can affect your moods and emotions. Try to eat right, get enough sleep, and make time for things you enjoy. This is called self-care. It's kind of a hot button topic right now. Everybody's talking about it, but there really is something to it. And avoid the blame game. It can be really easy to blame yourself or someone else for your teen's depression, but to be honest, it only adds to an already stressful situation. Just take it day by day, start where you're at, and do the best you can for that day. Sometimes the rest of the family gets caught up in this whole whirlwind that can be teen depression. Don't feel like you have to do everything yourself. Get help. Ask for help, be willing to accept help. And it's a good role model for your teen and for you to stay healthy for yourself as well. Be open with the family. Don't tiptoe around this depression in order to protect other siblings, particularly younger siblings. Kids know when something's wrong, and if they're worried, they may be worrying about imaginary things that might be far worse than what is actually going on. Be open about what's going on in a developmentally appropriate way, and invite your children to ask questions and share feelings. Don't forget about these siblings. Depression in one child can cause a lot of stress or anxiety on the other members of the family. So make sure to give those other children your time and attention, and get their own help as well if they need to handle the feelings about the situation. This can be life altering for a little while, and everybody might need some support in learning to cope. When you're communicating with your depressed teen or any of your children in your family, it's really important to focus on listening, not lecturing. Try not to criticize or judge once they start to talk. You might agree or disagree, or based on your life experience, feel differently. There's really no right or wrong when it comes to feelings or beliefs. The teen's point of view is their point of view. It's not something that you need to argue. You just need to listen. You just will do the most good by letting them know that you're there for them and you're listening and you're open to hearing what they have to say. Don't give up if they shut you out. Sometimes this can be tough. Teens might have a hard time expressing what they're feeling. Try to be respectful of them while emphasizing your concern and willingness to listen. Maybe they just need to know you care, and they might seem like they don't want to talk about it, but they might just not know how to talk about it. You want to acknowledge what they're feeling. If they're saying to you they're worried about something that doesn't seem like a big deal to you or seems silly or irrational, and if you try to explain why things aren't that bad, they're going to take it as if you don't take them seriously. You don't have to say why things aren't as bad now as they used to be or anything like that. Just acknowledge the pain and sadness they're experiencing. Because if they're saying they feel that way, they just do. And trust your gut. If your teen claims that nothing's wrong but has no explanation for what's making them depressed, you should trust your instincts. And if your teen really won't open up to you, turn to somebody else, a school counselor, a favorite teacher, a mental health professional. The important thing is to get them talking to someone. And remember, you're not alone. The presence of a caring adult can make such a big difference. You can make a big difference. You can just take it one day at a time, and don't be afraid to ask for and accept help. You have your school counselor, your doctor, and therapist are all really good sources of information. There's many good resources out there. Here's a few of my favorite ones as far as local resources go. The National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, has a main chapter that has a lot of really great information on their website. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration has a lot of great information. And on the maine.gov website, you can go to the DHS crisis hotlines if you need those phone numbers ever again. With any of these, you can just Google them and they will pop up in the search. So thank you for listening to my webinar. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, please email me at eileenworcester@gmail.com, and I look forward to talking with you again. Thank you.